The holographic transmission shimmered like a ghost, its edges flickering with an almost sentient intensity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez studied the message, her dark eyes reflecting layers of calculation that went far beyond the simple communication before her. The United Earth Diplomatic Court headquarters hummed with a tension that seemed to vibrate through every molecule of the building. "Confirm authentication," she muttered, her fingers dancing across the quantum encryption interface. The message was unlike any diplomatic communication humanity had received before. No flowery language, no preliminary courtesies, just a stark, direct summons from the Galactic Council, an invitation that felt more like a command. Transmission begins. Diplomatic summons. Classification. Highest priority. Destination. Earth Diplomatic Corps. Source. Galactic Council. Nexus Prime. Mandatory attendance. Full diplomatic delegation. Date. Standard Galactic Cycle 7392-6. The timestamp meant they had precisely 72 standard hours to prepare and arrive. No negotiations, no postponements. Elena leaned back, her mind racing. Her grandmother, Maria Rodriguez, had been one of the first human diplomats to make contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. She had spoken often of the delicate dance of interstellar diplomacy, how one wrong word could mean the difference between cooperation and conflict. Director Rodriguez, a voice interrupted her thoughts. Commander Michael Chen entered, a holographic display of multiple intelligence reports floating around him like a digital constellation. "We've got some interesting background on this summons." The wall behind him flickered to life, displaying a complex mosaic of diplomatic incidents, historical conflicts, and cryptic intelligence reports. Humans had been on the galactic stage for barely 3 decades, yet they had already established a reputation for being unpredictable, technologically adaptive, and fundamentally uncontrollable. The Vorak hegemony is positioning ships near the Orion boundary. Chen continued, his voice a study in controlled professional concern. And the crystalline confederacy has been unusually quiet. Elena's fingers traced a complex pattern on her quantum comm, a habit she'd developed during years of high-stakes negotiations. Every movement was calculated, every gesture potentially meaningful. "This isn't just a meeting," she said quietly. "This is a test." The room's ambient lighting seemed to respond to her words, shifting to a deeper, more intense blue that matched the growing sense of anticipation. Classified files began populating secondary displays, records of previous emerging civilizations that had been managed by the Galactic Council. Most had been systematically reduced, their potential crushed under bureaucratic weight and technological restrictions. Not humanity. Not this time. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo burst into the room, her arms laden with linguistic analysis tablets and quantum translation devices. "The communication patterns," she said breathlessly. "They're hiding something. The syntax suggests multiple layers of meaning." Elena allowed herself a slight smile. Their team wasn't just prepared. They were over-prepared. Every potential scenario had been wargamed, every possible diplomatic approach analyzed and reanalyzed. The Galactic Council believed they were summoning a young, naive civilization. They had no idea what was coming. "Prepare the Prometheus," Elena said, her voice carrying the quiet certainty of someone who knew exactly what was at stake. "We're going to give them a diplomatic reception they'll never forget." The Prometheus wasn't just a ship. It was a testament to human innovation, a mobile command center that defied every conventional expectation of interstellar travel. Its sleek exterior concealed layers of technological complexity that would make most alien civilizations pause in genuine wonder. Major Michael Chen stood on the bridge, his augmented reality interface dancing with streams of tactical information. Each holographic display represented a different potential scenario: diplomatic negotiations, defensive strategies, communication protocols. To an outside observer, it might look like chaos. To Chen, it was a meticulously organized symphony of possibilities. "Quantum drive stabilization at 98.7%. announced Lieutenant Yara Santos, her fingers moving with practiced precision across a holographic control panel. Adaptive shielding is running full diagnostic suite. Chen nodded, his cybernetic eye flickering with additional data overlays. A veteran of Earth's first interstellar conflicts, he saw every journey as a potential battlefield, even a diplomatic mission. In the ship's primary research lab, Dr. Aisha Okonkwo was knee-deep in her most complex project yet. Surrounded by linguistic matrices and xenocommunication algorithms, she was crafting something far more sophisticated than a simple translation device. "It's not about translating words," she muttered to herself, adjusting a quantum resonance modulator. "It's about translating entire cultural contexts." Her workstation was a controlled chaos of holographic displays, each showing different alien communication patterns, cultural databases, and predictive linguistic models. She was building a device that could do more than translate. It could interpret, predict, and potentially manipulate communicative nuances. Meanwhile, in the ship's meditation and preparation chamber, Elena Rodriguez went through a rigorous mental conditioning routine. Part meditation, part strategic simulation, her training blended psychological warfare techniques with deep breathing exercises developed by a combination of neuroscientists, diplomats, and martial arts masters. The Prometheus itself was alive with preparation. Every system, every crew member had been selected with mathematical precision. The ship wasn't just traveling. It was gathering intelligence with every millisecond of its journey. Quantum sensors probed the surrounding space, collecting data on subspace communications, gravitational anomalies, and potential hidden communication channels. The ship's AI, an advanced system nicknamed Araya, Adaptive Responsive Intelligence Algorithm, continuously ran millions of diplomatic and tactical simulations. Incoming quantum encrypted communication. Araya's voice emerged, simultaneously calm and razor-sharp. Origin. Unknown quantum signature. Preliminary analysis suggests. Chen interrupted. Trace and decrypt. Full security protocols. The communication was unlike anything they'd encountered. Not a standard transmission, but a complex quantum-entangled message that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. It was a communication that defied traditional understanding. A message that was both invitation and warning. Elena approached the bridge, her movements deliberate. "What have we got?" Chen's cybernetic eye flickered. "Something that confirms we're not walking into this blind." The message, when partially decoded, revealed fragments, coordinates, historical references, and something that looked like a warning. Or was it a challenge? The Prometheus continued its journey, a technological marvel carrying humanity's most sophisticated diplomatic team into the heart of galactic politics. They weren't just traveling, they were preparing to rewrite the rules of interstellar engagement. And they were ready for anything. Nexus Prime rose before them like a living sculpture of impossible geometry. The space station defied conventional understanding. Part architectural marvel, part living organism, its crystalline structures shifted and realigned with a logic that seemed to breathe with ancient intelligence. The Prometheus docked with calculated precision, its approach a dance of technological elegance that did not go unnoticed. Alien delegates from a dozen different civilizations watched the human vessel's arrival with a mixture of curiosity and barely concealed apprehension. Elena Rodriguez adjusted her diplomatic attire, a carefully designed ensemble that was simultaneously a statement of cultural identity and a subtle piece of technological sophistication. Embedded quantum adaptive fibers could analyze environmental conditions, monitor physiological responses, and provide real-time communication capabilities. "Diplomatic protocols are go," Araya's voice whispered through her neural comm. Preliminary psychological profile of primary council representatives downloaded and analyzed. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo stood slightly behind Elena, her own outfit a masterpiece of cultural camouflage. To the untrained eye, she appeared calm. To those who knew how to look, she was a living sensor array, processing minute details of alien body language and communication patterns. Major Chen's presence was more overt. His cybernetic augmentations were deliberately visible, a statement of human technological capability that walked the line between intimidation and invitation. Each step he took mapped the diplomatic chamber, identifying potential threats, communication nodes, and strategic positions. The Galactic Council chamber was a marvel of Sen architecture. Gravity seemed optional, with delegates from low-gravity and high-gravity worlds seemingly comfortable in the same space. Holographic interfaces intertwined with biological communication nodes. The very air seemed charged with millennia of political complexity. First to approach was the Vorak representative, a crystalline being that seemed to simultaneously exist in multiple dimensional states. Its communication was a complex symphony of light, quantum resonance, and subtle gravitational modulations. Representatives of Earth, the being's communication translated. You are summoned to discuss your species' potential integration into galactic protocols. Alina's response was instantaneous, a masterpiece of diplomatic subtlety. We are here to engage in dialogue, she said, each word precisely calibrated, not to be integrated. The subtle emphasis spoke volumes. This was not a species seeking permission, but a civilization announcing its arrival. Around them, the other delegates watched. The crystalline confederacy's representatives shifted almost imperceptibly. The methane-breathing Zornak delegates maintained a facade of disinterest that was itself a form of intense observation. Dr. Okonkwo's linguistic interface was working overtime, parsing not just words, but the complex interplay of cultural subtext. Every gesture, every quantum of communication was being recorded, analyzed, interpreted. Preliminary communication analysis complete, Araya whispered to Alina. Detected 17 layers of potential diplomatic subtext. Recommendation: maintain current approach of controlled ambiguity. The chamber itself seemed to hold its breath. Humanity had arrived, not as a supplicant, but as a participant. The game was about to change, and everyone in the room knew it. Alina Rodriguez stepped forward, her movement a perfect blend of respect and absolutely unmistakable sovereignty. The diplomatic dance was beginning. The holographic display materialized like a quantum nightmare, a labyrinthine document that stretched across multiple dimensional planes, its complexity a deliberate weapon of bureaucratic intimidation. The Galactic Council's proposal was not a simple treaty, but an intricate web designed to contain, restrict, and ultimately suffocate human potential. Alina Rodriguez's eyes flickered, her neural interface parsing the document at speeds that would make most computational systems overheat. Each clause was a trap, carefully worded to sound benevolent, while concealing layers of systematic oppression. Territorial Expansion Clause 7.3. She began, her voice cutting through the chamber's charged atmosphere. Limits human colonization to precisely 0.03% of currently unoccupied stellar regions. The Vorak representative, a being of crystalline complexity, shifted almost imperceptibly. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo's linguistic sensors detected the microscopic movement. Surprise, possibly concern. The clause is designed for ecological preservation, the Vorak representative responded, its quantum communication layered with multiple levels of meaning. Alina's smile was a calculated weapon. Interesting, because our analysis suggests it would effectively prevent human expansion for the next 732 standard galactic cycles. Major Chen's cybernetic eye ran simultaneous analyses. The document wasn't just a diplomatic proposal, it was a comprehensive strategy of soft containment. Technology-sharing clauses that would strip humanity of its most innovative developments. Economic restrictions that would hobble interstellar trade. Military deployment limitations that would render human defensive capabilities obsolete. Technological harmonization protocol. Alina continued, her finger tracing the holographic text. Requires immediate and complete sharing of all current and future technological developments with the Council's regulatory board. Dr. Okonkwo stepped forward, her own analysis device humming with quantum complexity. May I clarify something? Her tone was academic, almost gentle. This protocol effectively means that any technological innovation developed by humans would become immediate public domain, accessible to all council members. The silence that followed was profound. The Crystalline Confederacy's representatives exchanged quantum-encrypted communications. The methane-breathing Zornak delegation began a subtle recalibration of their environmental suits. Chen's tactical overlay was capturing every microscopic reaction. Diplomatic body language was being analyzed in real time, cross-referenced with centuries of sinopolitical interactions. The Council seeks to ensure balanced technological development. The primary representative responded, its communication a complex symphony of gravitational modulations and light-based syntax. Alina's response was a masterpiece of controlled diplomatic fury, balanced or controlled. Araya, the ship's AI, was simultaneously running millions of potential scenario projections. Each word, each gesture was a data point in a complex strategic calculation. The proposal was more than a document. It was a test, a challenge, an attempt to define the boundaries of human potential before humanity could define them itself. And Alina Rodriguez had no intention of allowing that to happen. Her next words would change everything. The moment stretched like an eternity, pregnant with unspoken potential. Alina Rodriguez stood, her movement deliberate, each step a calculated statement that would echo through galactic history. Distinguished members of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice a crystalline blend of respect and absolute resolve. Humanity does not negotiate with those who seek to define our potential. The chamber fell into a silence so complete that even the quantum communication interfaces seemed to pause. Major Chen's cybernetic eye captured every microscopic reaction. The subtle shift of crystalline bodies, the minute gravitational changes in the methane-breathing delegates' environmental suits, the quantum flutter of holographic interfaces. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo stood slightly behind Alina, her linguistic analysis systems working at quantum speeds. Every nuance, every potential translation was being captured, analyzed, weaponized. Alina continued, her words precisely measured. For millennia, emerging civilizations have been presented with agreements that are nothing more than sophisticated chains, protocols designed to limit, to constrain, to prevent the natural evolution of a species. The Vorak representative, a being of complex crystalline structure that seemed to exist in multiple dimensional states, attempted to interrupt. Alina's raised hand stopped the motion with surgical precision. "We are not asking for permission," she said, each word a thunderbolt of diplomatic defiance. "We are declaring our existence." The holographic displays around the chamber began to shift, not by any delegate's command, but as a subtle demonstration of technological capability. Fragments of human achievements began to materialize, not as boasts, but as simple, undeniable facts. Quantum computing breakthroughs, adaptive terraforming technologies, medical innovations that had rewritten the understanding of biological limitations, economic models that challenged millennia of established galactic trade paradigms. Major Chen's tactical overlay was mapping every potential response. The human delegation wasn't just walking away. They were making a statement that would reshape galactic politics. Dr. Okonkwo's linguistic interface captured the true depth of the moment. This wasn't just a diplomatic rejection. It was a fundamental challenge to the existing galactic order. "Your protocols," Alina said, her final words cutting through the chamber like a quantum blade, "are a testament to your fear. Fear of potential. Fear of change. Fear of what truly innovative civilizations can achieve." The walk was choreographed with military precision, each step a statement, each movement a declaration of sovereignty. As they reached the chamber's massive crystalline doors, Alina paused, not for dramatic effect, but to ensure every delegate understood. This was not an ending. This was a beginning. The doors opened, responding to a quantum signature that was uniquely human, adaptive, unpredictable, beyond conventional understanding. Major Chen's tactical systems were already mapping potential responses. Dr. Okonkwo was collecting every quantum of communication data. Araya, the ship's AI, was running millions of scenario projections per microsecond. They weren't running away. They were advancing. The Galactic Council had just witnessed something unprecedented. A civilization that refused to be defined by anyone's limitations. Humanity had arrived. The quantum communication networks erupted like a supernova of information. Within milliseconds of the human delegation's dramatic exit, every sentient civilization connected to the Galactic Council's communication grid was analyzing, dissecting, and interpreting the unprecedented moment. On Nexus Prime, the Council chambers descended into a chaos that defied their millennia of diplomatic protocol. The Vorak representative's crystalline structure began to fracture, a biological response to pure, unadulterated shock. They just walked away, muttered Counselor Jrak, a veteran diplomat whose career had spanned 3 galactic cycles. His translation interface struggled to capture the nuance of human defiance. The methane-breathing Zornak delegation was first to break the silence. Their communication burst was a complex mathematical analysis that simultaneously expressed confusion, respect, and a hint of barely concealed fear. Probability matrices suggest a 0.003% chance of such a direct diplomatic rejection. Their lead analyst transmitted. Recommendation: immediate comprehensive intelligence gather. Aboard the Prometheus ARIA was already 3 steps ahead. The ship's quantum systems were collecting, analyzing, and weaponizing every fragment of communication. Major Chen watched the data streams with a predator's intensity. "They're scrambling," he said quietly to Elena Rodriguez. "Every major intelligence network is trying to understand our move." Dr. Aisha Okonkwo's linguistic systems were in overdrive. "It's not just what we said," she murmured. "It's how we said it. We've introduced a completely new diplomatic language." The communication networks told a story of growing panic. Minor civilizations that had been oppressed by the Council's protocols began to send tentative communication probes. Encrypted messages that spoke of hope, of potential, of a possible alternative to the established order. Elena watched the developing situation with calculated calm. This wasn't just a diplomatic incident. This was a strategic opening. "Araya," she commanded, "prepare our secondary communication protocols." The ship's AI responded instantly. Quantum encrypted messages began to weave through the galactic communication networks. Not aggressive, not threatening, but fundamentally revolutionary. Fragments of human technological achievements. Glimpses of collaborative potential. An invitation that was also a challenge. On a dozen different worlds, intelligence agencies and diplomatic corps began to reassess everything they thought they knew about humanity. The Crystalline Confederacy was the first to break rank. Their communication was a complex mathematical equation that translated roughly to, "We need more information." Major Chen's tactical overlay was mapping every potential response. The human delegation wasn't just responding. They were reshaping the entire conversation. "They expected us to beg," Elena said, more to herself than to anyone else. "They expected us to negotiate. Instead, we showed them our potential." The quantum communication networks continued to pulse. Each transmission was a heartbeat of a changing galactic order. Humanity had just introduced a new variable into the complex equation of interstellar politics. And no one, absolutely no one, knew what would happen next. The first indication of humanity's true depth came through an unexpected channel. A quantum data burst that penetrated the most secure communication networks of the Galactic Council, revealing layers of preparation that defied conventional understanding. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the initial responses with a calculated calm that masked the magnitude of what was unfolding. The data burst wasn't just information. It was a comprehensive demonstration of technological, strategic, and cultural capabilities that had been carefully hidden from galactic view. Major Michael Chen's cybernetic systems were processing the incoming data at speeds that would make most computational networks overheat. "They have no idea," he muttered, a hint of pride threading through his professional demeanor. The data revealed a network of human colonies that existed in quantum superposition, settlements that could simultaneously exist and not exist, protected by technologies that blurred the lines between physical reality and quantum potential. Adaptive terraforming projects that had transformed seemingly uninhabitable planets into thriving ecosystems. Communication networks that operated on principles completely alien to established galactic technologies. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo's linguistic systems were decoding more than just technological information. Cultural databases, adaptive social structures, educational models that rewrote the understanding of knowledge acquisition. Each revelation was a thunderbolt of potential. It's not just technology, she explained to Elena, her voice a mixture of academic excitement and strategic insight. It's a completely different approach to civilization itself. The Galactic Council's intelligence networks began to fall apart. Established information-gathering systems crumbled in the face of human innovation. Every attempt to categorize, to understand, to contain was met with another layer of complexity. Quantum encrypted communications began to spread, not just from the human delegation, but from a network of human-aligned civilizations and independent settlements that had been carefully cultivated in absolute secrecy. Minor species that had been marginalized by the Council's protocols began to see a different path forward. We're not just presenting an alternative, Elena said quietly. We're demonstrating that the entire existing system is fundamentally flawed. Araya, the ship's AI, was simultaneously running millions of scenario projections. Each new piece of information was a data point in a complex strategic calculation that was rewriting the understanding of interstellar politics. The technologies were almost beyond comprehension. Adaptive neural networks that could learn and evolve at speeds that defied known computational limits. Energy generation systems that tapped into quantum vacuum fluctuations. Medical technologies that redefined the boundaries of biological potential. But it wasn't just technological superiority. It was a fundamental difference in approach. Where the Galactic Council saw limitation, humanity saw possibility. Where other civilizations saw boundaries, humans saw opportunities for transformation. Major Chen's tactical overlay captured the growing panic among the Council's intelligence networks. They're realizing, he said, that everything they thought they knew was wrong. The final data burst was a masterpiece of strategic communication. Not a threat, not a boast, simply a demonstration of potential. A civilization that had been preparing, waiting, evolving. Humanity had not just entered the galactic stage. They had rewritten the entire script. And they were just getting started. The transformation was not a sudden explosion, but a systematic, calculated reimagining of galactic politics. Humanity didn't just challenge the existing order, they dismantled it with surgical precision. Aboard the Prometheus, Elena Rodriguez stood before a holographic display that pulsed with the potential of a new galactic framework. Major Chen and Dr. Okonkwo flanked her, each representing a different facet of humanity's comprehensive approach. This isn't about conquest, Elena said, her voice carrying the weight of carefully considered strategy. This is about cooperation on our terms. The first wave of change came through economic channels. Human-developed quantum communication networks began to replace the Council's outdated infrastructure. Adaptive trade protocols emerged that didn't just move resources, but created dynamic, self-optimizing economic ecosystems. Minor civilizations that had been marginalized began to find voice. The Crystalline Confederacy, once a rigid hierarchical society, started to undergo internal transformations. Species that had been restricted by the Galactic Council's protocols now saw a path to genuine self-determination. Araya, the ship's AI, was orchestrating a complex diplomatic ballet. Quantum encrypted communications wove a new network of potential, not through force, but through an unprecedented approach to mutual growth. They're learning that limitation is the true enemy of progress, Dr. Okonkwo observed, her linguistic systems parsing the complex communications that were reshaping entire civilizations. Major Chen's tactical overlays showed something far more profound than military conquest. This was a revolution of potential, Technologies that had been suppressed began to flourish. Educational models that emphasized adaptive learning replaced rigid, controlled information systems. The Vorak representative, once a symbol of the old order, now sought dialogue, not as a superior, but as a potential partner. "We misjudged you," the crystalline being's communication translated, completely and utterly. Alina's response was characteristic in its simplicity. "We're still learning. About ourselves, about the universe, about what's possible." The Prometheus became more than a ship. It was a symbol of a new approach to civilization. Each system, each crew member represented a different aspect of human potential. Adaptive, diverse, fundamentally optimistic. Galactic communication networks began to shift. The rigid hierarchies that had defined interstellar politics for millennia started to dissolve. In their place, a more fluid, dynamic system emerged, one that valued potential over control, adaptation over stagnation. "This isn't about human dominance," Alina explained to the emerging coalition of independent civilizations. "This is about collective potential." Araya ran millions of scenario projections, each one revealing new possibilities. The old systems of control were being replaced by networks of mutual growth, of shared potential. Major Chen watched the tactical displays transform. What had once been maps of potential conflict were now becoming blueprints of collaborative potential. Dr. Okonkwo's linguistic systems captured the true depth of the moment. This was more than a diplomatic victory. This was a fundamental reimagining of what civilization could be. As the Prometheus moved through the stars, it carried with it a promise. Not of conquest, not of dominance, but of possibility. Humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again.